Hello and welcome to the Pre-Chiro podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Glass, and today we're just having a meaningful conversation with a professional chiropractor, somebody who's a teacher of philosophy, Dr. Bill Decken. Dr. Bill, can you get us started by just introducing yourself and reflecting on what it was that attracted you to this path to become a chiropractor?
Yes, as Ben said, I'm Bill Decken. I came from the greater metropolitan New York area to study chiropractic at Sherman College in 1983. I graduated in 1986, been practicing and teaching ever since. I've always been in full time practice and I've always been in full time teaching. But prior to chiropractic, I was a teacher, which was probably had a lot to do with my wanting to get back involved in teaching because I really enjoyed it. But my main purpose for going into chiropractic was to be self employed. I arrived at Sherman College without ever having had my spine checked, without ever having been adjusted, because nobody told me I should. But once I started learning chiropractic, I found out I should. People started to teach me, and the philosophy of it behind it made perfect sense. And my wife and I and all our kids got under care right away. So, but there's a big big stories, good stories behind how that transition happened. While I was teaching high school chemistry in the New York area, New York City area, one of my students turned her paper in and looked at me out of the blue and said I should be a chiropractor. And that started getting my wheels turning. And I read about this proactive approach to the nervous system and proper healing. Um, so that really piqued my interest because I kept hearing my dad's voice about taking care of your car and proper maintenance of your car. Don't wait till your car has disease or conditions, take care of it. And I had never heard this about healthcare until this pamphlet that this student of mine had given me. So I started looking around. I started looking into it, and it made perfect sense. In my greater worldview, I knew there was more to life than just the stuff you can see and touch. And then this proactive nervous system approach to healing, I thought, well, that's great. And I get a chance to be my own boss.
Hmm.
Um, so that was that. And my wife said, do you really want to go back to school? Do you really want to go from making that much money to that much? Because in school you wouldn't earn too much. And we were thinking of starting a family. So I left teaching. I did not go to chiropractic school. I went to do some corporate research for Texaco Oil. And it was there that I realized the corporate life wasn't for me, that I did want to be self employed. And so we made the trip. We looked around a bunch of different schools. We made the trip to South Carolina, liked Sherman College, um, referred there by somebody my dad had started to see as a chiropractor. But nobody that I asked and about chiropractic and talked to, nobody recommended that I get my spine checked.
Hmm.
But it made sense. And so I think I've been successful in my practice helping it make sense to people so that they can choose it. I have a lot of people that start without any aches and pains because we just share the principles of healing with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun, and if you get a good laugh out of that, I've been teaching there at Sherman almost 37 years. So maybe that self-employed part didn't work for me, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But I still have my own practice, and I found the best of both worlds. I found that yearning to teach and be involved with Sherman and with teaching and challenging students how to think over the years
Mm-hmm.
and what they want to get out of their professional life.
Mm-hmm. I know I'm asking you to jog your memory, but just to reflect back on your experience as a chiropractic student, the philosophy of chiropractic, how did you approach the study of it? How can you maybe connect that to being a teacher today and how you ask students to approach the study of chiropractic, which is a philosophy. It doesn't have a philosophy, it is a philosophy. So I was
Right.
just curious if you could um, maybe connect the dots for us on how a student, maybe it was you, the student, approached chiropractic as a study.
When I was a student, I read Stevenson's textbook, primarily the freshman text, whenever I had a free period. Because what I was learning from Dr. Tom Gilardi in our first philosophy class really piqued my interest. But I had a wife and I had a child, and we had more children while I was in school as a student. And I also worked a part-time job to provide for my family. So I was I became very good at listening in the classroom so I could minimize, and I was more mature student because I had been in the work world. I think that helped me focus more in the classroom so I didn't have to spend as much time cramming outside the classroom. I was just taking it in better, but I really liked the material. So that made it easy. So I would read more about it. My approach as a teacher, and I teach the Philosophy 1 class here at Sherman, I tell them my job is to step on your toes and make you think. You already have a philosophy that you run your life by. You may not even know it. I don't want it to be unconscious. I want you to consciously think about it. People are going to ask you questions when they come to see you for chiropractic care. What philosophy, what worldview, philosophy in action for me is a worldview, are you going to rely on to answer their questions? And so we start the process of talking about what the basic fields of philosophy are. And they realize, yeah, I guess I have had philosophical thoughts because I think this, because I think that. But they never named it their philosophy. We talk about the ADIO, above, down, inside out, versus the outside in, below, up worldview. We talk about what is health? What's your definition of it? Where does it come from? How do you know you're healthy? When do you know you're healthy? So they work on this for a good 5 or 6 weeks before we get into what it is you can do for somebody as their chiropractor and why you're going to do that. So we cover all of that. But I think that the best thing that we can do, that I'm trying to do, is to get them to think about them. Once they know how they want to live, now they have something to evaluate it by. And a lot of them, students today, they want natural healing, but they don't have a vocabulary. They don't have a context. And chiropractic offers that. The philosophy, science, and art offers that. Can you find evidence of medical people over the years who talk about the body's innate ability to heal, that the body has this super wisdom inside of it? You can find them, but that system is not built on that kind of thinking. And so those guys got to be frustrated. We have a system that's very congruent with how we see life and how we see health happening. And I
Mhm.
and I I don't limit the discussion to health. It's bigger. It's adaptation and it's life. Health
Mhm.
is a small piece of it. So
Mhm.
it's fun. It's fun to see the light bulbs come on and to challenge them. And you hope down the road that they're going to be happy with their choice.
I was wondering if you could share, having worked with hundreds of students, if not thousands of students at this point, what are some of the challenges that you see students having with the philosophy? Maybe short-sighted, or they hear one thing and then they interpret it a different way. Um, I'm just curious if you can maybe cover some of the obstacles that students have to overcome within themselves to really stay with the philosophy and be with the philosophy long enough for it to evolve its meaning to them, or for it to make more of a meaningful connection to them and who they are. I'm just curious if anything comes to you on that topic.
Well, having studied philosophy, Ben, that BJ said you got to get the big idea. If you get the big idea, everything else starts falling into place. But you can't make, if you're the student, you can't make that a goal. Your goal for this week can't be get the big idea. It's not an academic thing. It's something that hits you here and you start reasoning with it and you start learning it. And as you're starting to learn all that, then when it makes the 18-inch journey down into the heart, that's when you got it. There are definite obstacles to that, because they're taking a lot of classes. So if there's something here in my first quarter that's really, really interesting, I would really like to dig into that, but I got to study this and I got to study that and I got to prepare for this. So just don't lose the ember that might have started to come over and get your kindling going, but you're going to have to get back into it at some point. And some of them manage that sooner than others, and some of it after they'll read the same book when they graduate that they read in class, and all of a sudden it's the big idea hits them because there's less other static, there's less distractions that are necessary in order for them to graduate and get a license. And I think that's how the profession hurts us, because that's the organized curriculum that we're told to teach. But we need that. So you have to understand we need that. So how do we not lose this? Hopefully we can feed them. Hopefully we can get them involved with somebody, a local doc like yourself, and sit together and have meetings, small intimate settings, and keep feeding each other. Reggie Gold did it with hundreds of people, but he was Reggie Gold, that he had over to his house. Maybe if we could have 10 people over and have these conversations and review and renew and go deeper with what we picked up on in school. Because I do see a lot of light bulbs coming on. But you're just hoping that somebody doesn't come along with their basket and cover the light. And that's what the student has to be careful of.
For the audience of this conversation being prospective students, is there a way that we can have sort of an introductory commentary on chiropractic? Is there any analogies that you have found to be really successful at communicating chiropractic to people, or any stories that you share that help really bring the message to the listener, that you can maybe share here so that prospective students can start to relate to chiropractic through your words?
There are a lot, and they don't all appeal to everybody. So you got to find out who your audience is. So I'll try a little bit of that. There's a very popular one that I thought started with B.J. Palmer, and I've been looking for it, and I find out that it really hasn't. And I don't know where it came from. I use it all the time in class, but I didn't create it. But I don't know who to give credit to. And that is, what is an entity? An entity is a real thing, something that you can control. Light is an entity. I'm sitting in a lit room because I flicked on the light switch and the light is on. Dark is not the entity. In fact, we'll define dark as the absence of light. So if you want a dark room to become bright, you can't take buckets of darkness out. You've got to bring light in. And how do you do that? You open the blinds. You turn on the light switch. Light comes in. Where's the dark? It's not there anymore, because you have control over the light, so to speak. So with this metaphor, where would we place disease? Where would we place nervous system interference in the spinal column, which we call vertebral subluxation? Where would we place health, or in a bigger context, life? So life is light. How much light would you like to have? How much life would you like to have as you go through your life? 100%, as much as I can get, right? Don't want to go through with a little if I can be brighter. You got a potential of a 100-watt light bulb. You don't want to have 10 watts of power coming through that light bulb. Your eyes will go crazy. You can't read the book. So then what's disease? Disease is dark. Disease is the absence of life, or the absence of health in the smaller context. So, okay, then how would I get my body stronger? By bringing in light. not by taking darkness out. But what's the medical approach? Let's remove the germs. Let's remove the disease by killing it with drugs or by cutting it out through surgery. They're focused on the dark. During all the pandemic stuff, you didn't hear anybody from the official government, from healthcare, or from the media telling us how to make the body healthy. All you heard was what you have to do to prevent the germ. They talked about the darkness. Nobody talked about the light. And so that's what we have to offer people. So if health and life is the light and disease or conditions is the dark, then where do we come in as chiropractors? Because the light is happening naturally. You're born with it. Every parent just prays for their kids to be born healthy and full with vigor. Chiropractors deal with the thing that's interfering with the light. That's the blinds on the window. You want to make the room dark? Close the blinds. You want to make the body dark? Create a subluxation in the spine. If you want to get rid of the darkness, if you want to allow more light into the room, open the blinds, flip on the switch. That's the job of the chiropractor. Is flipping on the switch going to fix my headache or my low back pain? I don't know. But your body is going to function better with all the lights on. And then we let nature, the innate intelligence of the body, handle whatever is wrong. We're not focused on treating the darkness. We just want to open the blinds. And that's the beauty of chiropractic. That if anybody has really studied chiropractic, that's one thing we can all agree on. Interference comes from the subluxation in the spine, and the body is simply going to work better with a good nerve supply. So, BJ talked about parking the car tire on the garden hose. It's going to hurt your tomatoes. Not right away, but the tomatoes need water. So don't interfere with the flow of water. Reggie Gold would tell the story about the string around the aorta coming out of the heart. That's going to impede blood flow, even if it was just a little bit tight. Pressure on the nerve is going to affect the nerve. Tension on the nerve is going to affect the nerve. A lot of medical people have written about this, but organized medicine doesn't want it. Chiropractors are based on this principle, and we do want to talk about it and develop it and help people understand it.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. You being a chemistry teacher before you went to chiropractic school, did the Chemistry of Life by Reggie Gold, his presentation, spark anything for you as far as, was it just validating what you already knew, or was it bringing to life new ideas for you? I'm just wondering if you could touch on the Chemistry of Life by Reggie Gold, since you mentioned his name a couple times.
Yes, and when I started in chiropractic school, Reggie was not teaching the end talk yet. So that came on a little bit later in the early 80s. Just about the time I got started, he developed that. Initially, he did the baseball diamond talk, but that's okay. It's all the same information packaged differently. The end talk was beautiful. It was so simple. And having studied chemistry, have an appreciation for what's taking place in the human body that's so complex. Anybody who studies complexity theory can get that. They just have to be open-minded enough to study it. The end talk was beautiful. It was very simple. It took what we knew here and put it into practical terms for the lay person, for the chiropractor who was struggling, looking for a way to make it real for people. And I mentioned worldview earlier. All our philosophical thinking is great for us. We're cognitive beings, creations. But our worldview is our application of all the stuff that the decisions that we've made and what becomes our real philosophy. And the whole above, down, inside out is valuable, and it's there in that Chemistry of Life talk. But here's the kicker. The cadaver has a nervous system. Your cadaver and mine, Ben, it's going to have the same nervous system we have now, but we're going to be dead. So the nervous system isn't the key. It's an important player, but it's the intelligence that's using that nervous system to make life happen and coordinate it. That's what the cadaver doesn't have that we have. And so Reggie kept it real simple, and he talked about all of the processes in a simple way. He talked about that complexity of life and how we could lose it. So students should definitely look at that chemistry of life talk when they enroll in school, if not beforehand. Find a chiropractor. A lot of chiropractors are teaching that in their practices. And Reggie, keep in mind it was the early 80s, and the languages and the phrases and the examples probably aren't all politically correct today. So as long as you know that going in, don't get mad and you miss the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
But that's definitely a good place to go. Hear it from the master.
Mm-hmm. Can you speak on the ACP program and why you decided to enroll in that, and your involvement in it to this day, and just what it encompasses as far as a deeper study into the philosophy of chiropractic?
I took the LCP course at Palmer College after I had graduated. I was teaching more in the philosophy department, and I asked the school and if I could take some time and go out to Palmer and study. And I was really blessed to find out other chiropractors from other schools were interested in this and teaching concepts in it and diving into it and talking about it. I thought I was out in the foxhole. I thought it was just a few of us graduates from Sherman College that really wanted to get into this and study this. And then I found there were people from Life, and there were people from Life West, and there were people from Palmer, and even a couple of schools you wouldn't normally associate with chiropractic philosophy. We're all there studying the same thing. But then Palmer made some moves away, and they stopped offering the LCP. So I developed the ACP, Academy of Chiropractic Philosophers, for Sherman College to offer. Um, it's a good start in chiropractic philosophy, and we go deeper in some areas, but some of it is the basics in the beginning. And here's an interesting thing: the guys and gals who graduated from schools that didn't teach chiropractic philosophy, it was the first time they were hearing it in an organized way, rather than a 20-minute snippet here or there. They were getting a nice organized curriculum in chiropractic philosophy, or the philosophy of chiropractic, as you put it. Um, that's good, but it might not be deep. So there's more work you can go on to it and do afterwards, and certainly a lot of reading to do. We also saw a lot of graduates who'd been practicing for 10, 20, 30 years who wanted to come and take the ACP course, because when they were in school, and we talked about this earlier, when they were in school, they were all caught up in the other stuff they had to pass. And so they got a passing grade here, but it never made it from here to here. And so now they're digging in as a doctor of chiropractic, and they can't believe, you know, how good it is, and they're just happy that they've redipping their feet, so to speak. They got the fire years ago, but they could never fan the flame, so to speak, until they had other distractions out of the way. And so we see a lot of them that are taking that. We've taken the ACP course to Chicago and Texas and Omaha, Nebraska and Rhode Island, and right here on our campus at Sherman in California, San Diego, and San Francisco. And we've taken it to Mexico, and we've taken it to Chile, and we've taken it to Europe, we've taken it to New Zealand and Australia. So there are a group of chiropractors out there that are growing. In Spain, we went to Spain, that and Sweden, that want what you and I are talking about. So it's like they realize they're not in a foxhole. There are other people out there, and we just simply got to build the army. We just have to
Mm-hmm.
put all of us together. We have to have a place where we can congregate and talk, and keep continuing to promote and protect what we have. That's huge.
Mm-hmm. Is there a specific structure that you have found to be most effective when having a roundtable discussion or having a group discussion that gives everybody a chance to share their perspective or have all voices be included in the discourse? I'm just curious if we had a pre-Chiro club and they listened to the chemistry of life talk and we were providing them with prompts that they could then go and have a group discussion. Is there an amount of time that each student should be given to express themselves? Is there a way that we should frame it so that there's some structure involved that allows for the group to really be in as much harmony as possible?
We try to shoot for 2 hours. The state association that I'm in here in South Carolina, the Palmetto State Chiropractic Association, we do this every other month. And we try and come up with topics where everybody can have input. And it's not always on just philosophy. Um, it may be on the practical application of it. We don't fight about technique because your art form is your expression of the philosophy, and that should never be argued. Everybody should do what they're comfortable doing to correct the subluxation. And it's not about, sometimes it's about business procedures and policies because that's a reflection of the ADIO principle and how we're going to get this out. So everybody has a chance to speak, but you can't be afraid to be challenged. In other words, we don't all get a chance to say what chiropractic philosophy is. Chiropractic philosophy is one thing. It's in the 33 principles. That's our foundation. You and I may have our own personal philosophies that we live our life by. And like I challenge my students, how much of chiropractic philosophy do you want to integrate into your life? That's up to you. I can't mark you wrong for that. A lot of them think I am marking them wrong for that, but I'm not. That's just their issues with a teacher. You don't get to change chiropractic philosophy. Here's what it is. I'm testing you on whether you understand it and can explain it. But how much you incorporate it into your life is totally your journey, and I'm not going to beat you up over that. And you shouldn't let anybody make you feel bad because it's how you're going to live and run your practice. We just hope that a lot of people are going to choose to correct subluxations because it's interfering with the light. And we need more people expressing more light in their life.
Mhm.
Um, so find different topics that you can talk about. Maybe sometimes, my wife is in a book club where they read books and discuss them. You could pick a chapter. You could pick a chapter out of a chiropractic textbook and say, this is what the discussion is going to be on this week or this month. And that's a great way to go. There's some good books out there that you can go through. Stevenson, a lot of Strauss's stuff, or BJ's Green books, or Rob Sinnott has a couple of good books out there. Um, Fred Barge has a couple of good books out there. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that we.
You were just in a couple of books that were recently released, weren't you? The 33 book on the 33 principles.
Yes, that Dave Serial put together. That's a good one to chat about. And you know what? I don't agree with everything that everybody said in there, and some of them don't agree with me, but that's how you think. That's a great one. And the other one with the Triune of Life that Simon Senzon just put out, which I'm in the process of reading, but that's another good one. But what's it doing? That one is formed around one of our principles, principle number 4. That's a great one, and you get to hear from different people, and you don't have to agree with everybody, but you have to be honest with yourself and say, am I congruent with the principles of chiropractic? That's what Reggie's whole principle 4 triune of life is about. Is he was looking at being congruent. It's not that he added anything to chiropractic. It's just that in the old days, a lot of it was talked about helping remove conditions, but it never said that in the 33 principles. So look who we missed taking care of all those years. People who were subluxated but yet didn't have a condition. People that could have been healthier had they had a better opportunity to adapt. So yeah, Reggie, I had an opportunity to hear him speak a lot while he was alive and on campus here at Sherman, and Simon did a fantastic job with that book. So that's a good one to read. Or
Absolutely.
watch video clips.
Or watch video clips. Just as we wrap up here, looking to the future, do you have a narrative to share on the profession's sort of strengths and maybe the coordination and the organization of the profession to work more sort of hand in hand or work together, more collaboration, more synergy between different people, different projects, different schools? I'm just curious what your view is, having been involved in the profession all this time and just being able to witness how it's changed.
Ethically, we do have responsibilities. And that's one of the topics that we cover in the ACP class. We need more chiropractors teaching chiropractic and practicing chiropractic. That doesn't mean we need more chiropractors doing physical therapy or nutrition, right? We're not looking to duplicate. You know, if somebody were to come up with a course similar to the ACP, that's great. We're putting out the same message. Just like we can't have uh, too many chiropractic schools if we're teaching the same basic chiropractic, the philosophy, science, and art of chiropractic, which is focused on something very specific, the subluxation that interferes with the light, with life. So ethically, we should support the groups that speak what we think. We should band together. We should stop fighting over things that aren't important. Joe Strauss called it the non negotiables. I won't negotiate what chiropractic is, but I'm happy to talk about different ways of getting the subluxation corrected. I'm happy to talk about different ways to research the subluxation and research chiropractic. I'm happy to sit down and talk about the different philosophical components, but I don't feel we have the right to change those 33 principles. That's what they are, but it doesn't mean we can't study them. So for going down the road, yeah, study chiropractic because that can fill a lifetime. Just studying that and find your way to express it. That might be, you know, an auto mechanic. He knows that a subluxation could be like a clog in his fuel injectors. You know, somebody who's running a sewing machine and the thread is getting all disconnected and coming out wherever it's supposed to be. That person can understand what chiropractic is because I use that example. You know, you got mud on the windshield or ice in the snowy weather. You can't see where you're going, but you can see a little bit, but you're all over the road. Clear the ice off the window. That's all we do. We clear the ice off the window for people so they can function better. You can drive your car across town with three tires inflated and one flat, but wouldn't it be a better drive if they were all four inflated? That's what chiropractic offers people is an opportunity to function at the best of their possibility, best of their potential. That's the word.
Hmm.
It's
Thank
good,
you
and
for that.
I appreciate you putting this together so people can maybe whet their appetite and say, is this something that I should think about? Because a lot of people need what a chiropractor has. Plain
I'm
and simple.
curious from your point of view, the prospective student audience, the pre-Chiro student, there's never, just to give you a little bit of a technological tidbit, the hashtag is used to map out how much information is being shared online about specific topics. And pre-med has over 1 million bits of information shared. Pre-physical therapy has over 800,000 bits of information shared, and pre-Chiro has just over 100 bits of information shared,
Hmm.
whether it's pre-chiropractic, pre-chiro, pre-DC. There's very, very little structure, which I believe is an opportunity to allow people such as yourself who are centered on chiropractic to really shape what pre-chiro is and what pre-chiropractic is, so that if we're entering a new country with a chiropractic school, we have an ability to accurately communicate what is this profession, what is this path, what is this philosophy. I'm just curious of your thoughts on new opportunities or just innovation that could be driven through the college student, through the high school student who maybe has more time, who doesn't have those other 8 classes that they need to focus on to dedicate themselves to chiropractic before they get to chiropractic school?
Well, I haven't really helped that situation at all because I thought hashtag was a tic tac toe board or a pound sign or something. So I haven't contributed to anything along those lines. But I'm glad a lot of our students today are doing that. You can't, you have to challenge your preconceived ideas about what chiropractic is. Yes, we help a lot of people with physical ailments. We absolutely do. Why is that? Because there's interference to the nervous system. But it's so much bigger than that. We're talking about life having intelligence and matter and some link in between them. And that's the force operating through the nervous system that makes life happen. Everybody in healthcare, if you think about the brain communicating with the body, everybody in healthcare is trying to focus on the body part, making the body part better. Even the people in natural healing, your homeopaths, your massage therapists, your acupuncturists, your nutrition people, they're all focused on the matter. Nobody is focused on the link between the brain and the body except you, the chiropractor. They're not getting that on the website. They're not getting that. And chiropractors are afraid to talk about that too much on their websites because they know that people are looking for relief from pain. And so that's what they're putting on their website. And if that's what we do, what are we going to get? That's always what we'll get. Cause and effect, our 17th principle. If you want to establish a practice full of people who just want to live better up to their potential, then that's the message we're going to have to put out. And we need as many, as you just pointed out, Ben. I had no idea that those were the numbers, or that that's how they get there. We just need more people putting that message out. We just need more people. But we couldn't take care of all the people with the number of chiropractors we have. But think about it from an entrepreneurial look. Nobody is out there offering to take care of the force that links brain and body. Everybody's down here working on the body. You would be the only one in town with this business. Now, that's a pretty good business model.
Hmm. I guess just the argument from me is that it's not that we need more people, we just need more awareness, or we need more understanding of our uniqueness and
Yes.
having a strategic plan to promote that uniqueness in a way that helps populate the internet with information that's accurate and that's on message and that really drives people to chiropractic for the right reasons. I'm sure you can look out in the crowd of a new first freshman class and see that maybe there's some students that this was their fallback option. This wasn't their primary choice. And I think that that's a dangerous position for a student to be in because of the investment, not only time, energy, but also financially. And the more we can do before chiropractic school starts to prepare a student, I think removing those subluxations in their awareness, the interference of, their ability to understand why they want to become chiropractors, that
Yeah.
we will arrive at a much more motivated and inspired freshman class. I mean, you
You're,
can
you-
speak to
you're,
that.
you're absolutely right, Ben. The awareness is huge, or the consciousness. How do we get that? Can I get that from a book? Do I best get that from a chiropractic office lay lecture or health talk presentation? It's not the kind of thing you get in bullet points, you know, or fancy slogans. You got to get the end talk. You got to look at it from A to Z, and we need an awareness in chiropractors that that's what's needed to spend the time doing that education. I guess the internet is a lot of it for free that you can do these things and just get those out. Maybe we need more of us recording more classes.
Maybe. I
But
just posed the question of, we need to ask new questions, right? The the fact is, the diversity has changed, but it hasn't necessarily changed from a strategic plan standpoint where we're trying to reach a certain diversity. It's just naturally changed because there's different demographics of people that are thinking of going to grad school. But I think that all
Yeah.
I'm trying to say
And you
there's a
hit it with an intentional plan, a strategic plan
yeah.
of reaching the public is key. Keith Wasson has the subluxation awareness, and maybe that's a good place to start. To use that kind of thinking and have other people branch off under that umbrella. Maybe
Hmm.
that's where his mind was going at that time. Is we just need more people aware of what we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean Reggie, my big mentor was Arno, but I got a chance to listen to Reggie talk, and he would always talk about just think. And so it's all about thinking bigger and bigger and zooming out further and further. And really, this project is trying to create some interlinking between all of the different points in our profession that create a fabric and that exist and are functioning independently within their own entities, shall we call it, but
Yeah.
they're not coordinated in a sense that you can see how one thing connects to the other, connects to the other, connects to the other, where a student begins to understand, wow, this profession actually is very well developed. It is very progressed in its development stages. And I think from somebody who doesn't have awareness, they're not aware of how developed this profession truly has become
Yes.
from individual efforts.
Yeah. Individual efforts and what more we could accomplish if we had proper communication without any subluxations. Between the different people that are trying to get things done. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just it's a big job.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
an important job.
Mm-hmm.
It's an important job. I lost my thought that I wanted to that I came to me when you were speaking, but we can't put ourselves in a box. When we adjust, we don't know what will happen, but we know it's going to be positive and it's going to be good because it's the life within.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much. I just want to touch on this one last thing just to get your perspective on it. Having interfaced with students for years, um, one of the major premises of my project is that we need to challenge students earlier in their path, that we need to provide opportunities for students to step outside of their comfort zone and do things that they had never thought they'd be asked to do as high school or college students or even chiropractic students, maybe chiropractic students mentoring these high school and college students and actually seeing a value yeah, they don't have much time, but as far as a side job, it would be really awesome if they could teach chiropractic or help students that are thinking of going to chiropractic school hone their focus or expose them to different things or just self-express, I guess. If we're promoting self-expression earlier on in the path, I'm just curious what your thoughts on that are, because I know that students in your class are given opportunities to express themselves. But
Right.
if that was like a core component of becoming a chiropractor, that you have to continually self-express, because as you know, students can kind of fly under the radar if they want to. They might not ever be measured on the quality of their adjusting or their understanding of chiropractic beyond like these classroom quizzes or tests or maybe these moments that happen really early in the program and get kind of buried.
Kind of like building a portfolio or a blog of some sort that they can keep contributing to as they go through the process of becoming a chiropractor. Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
have some faculty that work on that, and it's an arduous process. Some gravitate to it and really want to participate in that, and others get very locked into I will do that. That's great, and I want to do it after I get the test, after I get
Mm-hmm.
the license.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, that has been experimented with, and some people are doing it effectively. And the more you put into it as a student, the more you're going to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to see the big idea first, and it makes it that much easier.
Yeah, that's the third time you mentioned the big idea. So With the MCAT, that's used as the entrance requirement to go to medical school. The GRE is the entrance requirement to go to physical therapy school. If we were to create some entrance requirements to go to chiropractic school, do you think having at least exposure to the big idea, could you maybe list out really quickly a couple of things that you would love as like minimal competency or minimal exposure, minimal experiences, minimal amount of experiences and exposures to have before you go to chiropractic school?
I'm not a big believer that an entrance exam like an MCAT or an LSAT or anything like that is the way to go, because what we need the most is somebody whose head is thinking ADIO and who can use their hands. And you're not going to get that on a standardized test. So I would look for people who've had some life experience, who caring, love. How do you measure those things? Maybe people people who've been down and have healed and now are getting up. People who have been through the mud but made it out. That's the kind of thing I would look for in an interview process, and I would want to sense that in talking with you. I'm not so sure you're going to put that in an essay for me, because you can write an essay and have it mean nothing. But getting to know that person and sitting down with them face to face, I think is key. And I don't know how practical it is, but I think it's
Mm-hmm.
key. That's why we get some of really good students from chiropractors such as yourself who are in practice, because they're doing that. They're making that connection and then sending them to the school to go study and learn the field. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're not you can't research chiropractic in a medical model, and you can't accept students to chiropractic school in a medical model. It's just
Mm-hmm.
not going to work. You got to meet them.
Absolutely. Just really quickly, the first stage is like, what is chiropractic? Exploring the philosophy. Why do people go to chiropractic school? The second part of it is what are the skill sets? And I really just broke a Nate up into your inner scientist, your inner thinker, your inner artist, your inner teacher, your inner entrepreneur. And then the third one is the apprentice, so going and having that real world experience. The fourth one is the startup, where you're just starting some sort of project that is oriented to you getting out of your comfort zone, maybe starting a pre-Chiro club or going and sharing new information with people in a way that you make it familiar to them. That's the project. And then the fifth one is your independent study, your capstone. And then the sixth part is the admissions process. So just giving you a perspective that this is what I aim to bring to the profession, to the world, to the students that are out there looking for a path of purpose. Um, anyway,
So
just letting you know, just creating
yeah,
some new structure.
that's awesome. Join Toastmasters and tell me what you went to speak about, because that'll get you on the edge of your comfort zone. And
Mhm.
what the the best they ask chiropractors, tell me about your miracle case. And everybody can look at these debilitations and conditions that, I think the miracle in chiropractic is the child who doesn't have a sickly life, who, because they were subluxation free from birth on, never had any health problems. I think that's as big a miracle as somebody with a bad health problem that turns around. And we have to see that, and we have to tell that to people. And that list of 7, 8 things that you just gave is a great progression to get them exposed. And a lot of it happens through us in our practices. But what we say in those programs that you just outlined has to be congruent with what's on the website and what's coming out in our health talk class.
Mhm.
Because people see that, and they're all evaluating that now.
Mhm.
They're looking to see that we're walking our talk.
Mhm. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Really excited just to share this with any students that are out there. As time passes, this will be sort of chopped up and given to students to really chew on it and think about some of the things that you've shared. I really appreciate it. And yeah, if there's any way that I could support your students with the work that we're doing, it'll be becomeachiro.com, and be launching in the next month or two and just illustrating all the different pathways that people can take when becoming a chiropractor. So.
Super. I hope you got something valuable that you can pick and edit out of there, Ben.